It's another day to dig into the stories. Welcome. This is Onside with me, Joshua. Hello to Anopo, we bidding the transfer stories, the football related issues happening across Europe and across the world. Yebedi san komoning ina ewa onside with me, Joshua. Hello to Bansana Yebedi san komodo. Please subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and anytime I drop a video, no, we'll be one of the first people to watch it and would have some great time here building a successful community on this platform. We'll talk football, we'll talk tactics, we'll talk the transfers. Yebeji any on side. Guys, if you're a new viewer, thank you for choosing this platform to watch my analysis and also to follow the transfer stories. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and for choosing to watch this channel. You better cut straight into the stories because over the last few hours now, transfer market now is slow kakra. But a couple of deals have been completed and Yebedi San Komono. So let me just take you roughly, we'll discuss the stories, then we'll do a little insight on a couple of them. Nyentia, me who start transfers, know the way they are happening. Now, my trade in Semumu Kakra, then we can make some progress. Just about a few hours ago, it was reported that Mihailo Mudryk, Oboni football, Emma Chelsea, he was recently suspended for a doping ban. Omuhu chemicals be what Bibia Okonum year after a certain game, and Omukoye doping test. No, he was found guilty. He was placed on a 4-year ban. He served 2 of those 4 years of the ban. And now Omode Nyakano Echeno, so he returned to playing just a few weeks ago. In fact, a few days ago, because about Chelsea preseason matches Mienu, and he provided an assist in the very latest one on Boy or Malaysia. So it was a very good return for Abrantiano. But as it stands right now, it's difficult to see how he instantly gets back into the Chelsea setup because they say Chelsea are got 11 new players. And Oshe 11 new players now, there are quite a number of players who are already existing and competing in position now. I am Yalo Mudrik Otimibo. So at this point, you don't see him instantly getting back into the team. It's being reported, say he's being considered for a loan move so that he can get some regular playing time. So Nebeya, he will warm back into his old self and become a very competitive player. Now, Italian clubs as well as a team, my friend RC Strasbourg, are options for the Ukrainian international. But the player wants to stay in the Premier League into Nyayank Obebo Premier League. And I think to me, it makes more sense for him to stay in the Premier League because he really has his eyes on Chelsea in the future. And Sausha player Nankasana, the profile and how he had started his Chelsea career, he wasn't that perfect. Chelsea bought him for close to about £80 million. And I think it was well over that. And when he came, no expectation that was true. He couldn't really meet it before the doping ban was placed on him. And I said, now that he has come back, no, I can expect, say, or the say one of the days, if not in the near future, in the distant future, he will get back into that Chelsea setup. And you know, to play in the Premier League makes him more competitive and keeps him within eyes reach for Air Chelsea in paying for no. And I really think that if a team like Coventry comes to pick him up, he instantly goes there, plays a 1-season loan or even a 2-season loan, and gets back on his feet. And I also side with the player. If so, person or both Premier League or person or born loan or Premier League, I think it's a very good opportunity for him. He stays there, he remains competitive, and he's within reach. Chelsea Fono can see him directly and can also make the assessment. I think it motivates him as well. Because when you stay in the Premier League, it will make you serious. The Premier League is very competitive. Whichever team you are playing for, whether it's top level club, top 6, middle club or low club, you become, and I've always had this thing at Yambika, there's no bad side in the Premier League. Yeah. We share business at mid-table clubs to say Fulham, Everton, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, and Puno, or more yet in this window in this market. Now it tells you that everybody is preparing their squad for the future. Everybody's preparing their squad to be competitive, right? And I really think that if Mudryk gets a team like Fulham, Coventry, right, to play for, Sunderland, or to even any of these teams at Brentford, he gets back into those teams, he competes, he becomes competitive, and he comes back to Chelsea a better player. So I think that's a very good thing that may happen for your Brandt and I friend. Mihailo Mudryk. Now, guys, PSG have agreed a deal in principle for Parma to sign a brand here for Zion Suzuki. So here we go. So the Japanese goalkeeper will join the French team for 35 million euros. And PSG consider a loan for Suzuki to play regularly. Juventus will make a decision soon as top candidates. So this is the very interesting thing about this particular deal, and I'll tell you. Zion Suzuki was a standout goalkeeper at FIFA World Cup now, your boy at US, Canada, and Mexico. And he was born to a Ghanaian father and a Japanese mom. So he has Ghanaian roots. Inti uti musa abranti no Ghana nipa ohwe ne skin aye black sana or Japan boy but or Ghana ni so a Ghanaian at heart, right? You can see it from his face. But you see, this is the catch. PSG4 no, they are very smart. They had a player called Lee Kang-in and almost ton sa player and money free team now. As it stands right now, PSG are trying to extend their market and also their commercial viability in places like Asia. In Tisawushe, the way a Lee Kang-in free team, instantly it would have taken a chunk of their revenues and whatever they are receiving from that part of the world away. But quickly, they thought it wise to go in for a brand here, Zion Suzuki. And look at Zion Suzuki. In the World Cup, he was a standout performer for team Japan national team. No? And that is one of the things that I see in this particular deal. Because Ushe PSG4 now, they are not so much in need of a goalkeeper as it stands. Because Chevalier Woho, as well as Sofonov. And Sofonov was a very good goalkeeper when they won the Champions League last season. Yes, our mistakes are kakra here and there. But you look at Chevalier, you look at Sofonov, and you know that there's enough competition there, even though none has solidified their place in their starting 11 for Team IFN PSG. Then PSG goes in for Zion Suzuki, because Zion Suzuki is 23 years old, that's number one. Number two, and he said 33 million pounds now, 33 million euros now, it is a huge steal. Later, more percent Muton player if he comes in and puts up very great performances, he'll go for nothing less than 85 million euros. And 23 years, even in the future, if he decides to spend even 4 years, right? I will team my friend at PSG now. By the time he leaves PSG, he'll be 27. So 27 years and to leave at a heftier amount is good. The only thing is that player no playing time. So what I think Luis Enrique will do is that he's going to make the competition open between these three goalkeepers. If Sewankolo Nas is your move proposing now, maybe you go for the loan and come back into Bar. You'll be guaranteed a spot to compete with whichever goalkeeper is in the PSG setup. And I think that is what they really want to do. Until Lee Kang-in, the exit from PSG now, it was so smart that PSG would go and bring a brand here from Zion Suzuki to come and fill that void and give them more leverage in the Asian market. And that is what I think is happening. Guys, Napoli are expected to advance for Benoit Badiashile Shield. The deal is underway. So initially there were conversations ongoing between Chelsea and the player. But as we speak now, the representatives of Abrantiano, Omone Napoli for aiding Como, and I think the deal could be worth something that is close to 15 million euros. It's very likely Sobekwa could loan with a potential buy for a team my friend Napoli. So we'll see. I always thought that some of these players needed to leave Chelsea a long time ago. But this is the time Xabi Alonso has come in and he's trying to make sure that players who need to leave must leave. Senebeya, form a free market and so he will be able to settle down with them and roll out his philosophy as quick as possible. He needs to do that because we don't have so much time. And Chelsea's squad, say we are about 41 players. He can only register 25 or 28 for the Premier League season. Until whom he upon said over players ne free. Senebeya, he can also start his new thing with the new guys. Official confirmed. Shea Charles signs in at Fulham on a £30 million package deal from team my friend Southampton plus sell-on clause. He now becomes the most expensive Northern Irish player ever, Shea Charles. Look, Fulham Fono want to make a statement this season with the introduction of a brand friend Alvaro Arbeloa. He has come in at a time where Fulham want to maximize a lot of their returns. They've built a new stand, Ewomu Stadium, Craven Cottage. And aside that, they have also spent on the market. Earlier on in this window, they got two Real Madrid youngsters, right? To Gonzalo Garcia, as well as one more other, Real Madrid youngster, to come and join the fray, to come and play under their former coach, right? Who will be now their current coach in Alvaro Arbeloa. It tells you that they are trying to build a squad that can, number one, be competitive, number two, challenge to try and be within the top 10, at least, even maybe top 6. Because Fulham as a London club, we've always known them to be quite mid-table. But with what they are doing and with Sika almost saying or markets, so they are not spending heavy sums on one player. But even when you look at the deals that they made for Gonzalo Garcia and Cesar Palacios now, they spent only 50 million. I think it was even less than that on both players. Now they've bought Shea Charles for 30 million pounds. So that's total of about 80 million pounds on 3 players who can be very instrumental in their team and give them results. And they are adding them to an already existing squad. Marco Silva, now I build it at all. And San Alvaro Arbeloa, Babeji Jumano. So I really see them competing this season. And I think they can do something really amazing and spectacular. International new signing for a team, my friend Fulham Football Club. Guys, I think there's the latest, which has been building up for some time now, but now it's been confirmed. Romelu Lukaku to Fenerbahce. Romelu Lukaku to Fenerbahce is a here we go. Now, there was a new bid reviewed last night worth 6 million euros, which has been accepted. Lukaku has also agreed. Verbal agreement and paperwork. Verbal agreement was done. Now, paperwork is being done as we speak. Now, this is the scoop with Romelu Lukaku. It's a very interesting one. Ong say, Adana Abrantia friend Mohamed Salah, a year in transferring from Premier League to Air Trabzon. So he was a free agent, of course. Terminated his last year on his contract with Liverpool and moved to team my friend Air Trabzonspor. People didn't understand why he was moving to Turkey. We've seen another move. Romelu Lukaku, big name player, played in the Premier League before, went to Napoli, fell out of favor over there. Now he's moving to Fenerbahce in Turkey. What is this obsession with players in Turkey? Because for all you know, there were big money moves that they could have made to Saudi Arabia, to the US. And recently, Romelu Lukaku was on the verge of joining to my friend, I think it was Atlanta United. And he said no, he was not going to go. And I'm pretty sure, say, in Atlanta United, he was going to be paid more. At Fenerbahce, he's going to receive 10 million euros per year. But the interesting thing is that he's being bought for 6 million euros, which means his wages is getting to 1.6 times what he's being purchased for as a transfer fee. Now, the thing is that when Napoli signed Lukaku permanently from Chelsea, they paid 30 million euros for the player. But Chelsea were very smart. They put a certain resale value clause in that particular transfer to the extent that they were going to hold 40% of his resale value. So from this 6 million now, Fenerbahce for a bit for player at Napoli. Napoli are going to give Chelsea about 2.4 million euros. And this is for no work done, just putting that clause in the contract. And with the player moves, they get an amount. So that's a very smart business. Into Ushe Sesikana, it looks insignificant, but Chelsea can add up and go into the market and try and bring in one more player. So smart business from Chelsea. That's number one. Number two, look at the transfer fee and the wage, like I was saying earlier. So you see, in the transfer market now, people are not really caring so much about the deals they are making for a player. When you compare the impact the player could make to whatever you are spending on him at that moment, it's more or less like a cost-benefit analysis. Because look at it carefully. If I'm spending 100 million pounds on a player today, that is the kind of value that the team has placed on him. But if I am the team and I want to buy that player and I know what he can do for my team, and I know the kind of coach that I have who can shape the player into a certain direction, I don't have a problem spending that 100 million pounds on that player. Because I say in the next 6 years, Mania returns a free size. And that is why it's always smart to add. And that is the thing that Chelsea wanted to do with the young players that they were buying. Tomo, Tititon, Tomo, and then we build them 2, 3, 4 years. Then if they want to move, we move them on for higher amounts and resale value. We get percentage. That's the structure. But Romelu Lukaku is quite old. Into Alba at this time, you look at it very carefully, you realize that the squad impact of the player is more important to Fenerbahce than how much they are paying for him, which is why they are willing to give him the wages that he wants. And if you also look at it from another angle, teams in Napoli, they wanted to allow the player to go in Tentem because he had become very disruptive. Yeah, he fell out with Antonio Conte before he left, and Maximiliano Allegri is the one who is taking over the job now. I don't think he may want to work with Abranti and Romelu Lukaku. So quick, you need free on 10 times. Yeah, so Fenerbahce as well, they have continental ambitions and they are still in Europe. Into Usha, I think Lukaku wants to compete in Europe for some time before Abia finally will Saudi Arabia, make the money and then leave. And that is one thing I think is techie for the way they've repositioned their league to become more competitive, to attract big names, and to also make their football quite attractive, to also lure other players to come there. Because they are in Europe, and when you look at their culture, they love football. And I told you about it a couple of days ago when you looked at that Mohamed Salah transfer to Trabzonspor. Trabzonspor is that team that is not in Istanbul that also loves football, right? The three big teams in Istanbul, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, as well as Galatasaray, are always competing amongst themselves. And Trabzonspor are the outlier. They are in Trabzon, right? And they've managed to get Mohamed Salah. So they're going to make a case for themselves this season that they have a big player. And they're trying to bring in Abranti Efreno, Darwin Nunez from Al Hilal to come and join Mohamed Salah, build that chemistry that they had at Liverpool. So Trabzonspor are very smart, but look at what they are doing with, look at what Fenerbahce is also doing with Abranti Efreno and Romelu Lukaku. So it's some smart business that is happening in the market, guys, and we'll keep our eyes to see how impactful Abranti Ebeye or team Efreno AF Fenerbahce. Now CF Montreal had agreed a deal to sign Abranti Efreno Alexis Sanchez on a free transfer. So the former Sevilla striker joined this team, that CF Montreal, on a 2-year contract. It's a free move and all documents have been signed. Indeed, Alexis Sanchez, former Man United player, former Barca player, and played recently for Sevilla and San Ofio. He also wants to go and have some good football in Canada before he retires. Guys, this is On Side with me, Joshua Holotu. There are quite a number of other stories coming in. Maybe boss one moment 10 so that we can also make some progress. Now, Everton and Crystal Palace have completed a straight swap deal involving Dwight McNeil and Brennan Johnson. I had some questions to ask about Sadio because Oshe players, their squad values are totally different. So I was wondering exactly what would instigate this transfer business. Show Brennan Johnson is 25 years, McNeil is 26 years. The last transfer fee for both players is as follows: £35 million for Brennan Johnson, £20 million for Abranti Efreno Dwight McNeil. Yeah. Crystal Palace for Brennan Johnson from Tottenham Hotspur because he wasn't getting playing time and he wanted to move. They paid £35 million for the player. And that was just, I think, it was 2026, earlier this year. Yeah, I think it was in January. Yeah. Then Dwight McNeil, his last transfer date was 2022. And the total market value currently for both players, £27 million for Brennan Johnson, £15 million for Dwight McNeil. So how are both teams exchanging players? And it's a straight transfer, no additions, no add-ons, nothing. Quite interesting over there, but I'll bring you more scoops from that later. And AC Milan are expected to sell Abranti Efreno Fikayo tomorrow. I told you yesterday about this player. I think he would leave because Milan for now signing defender for Mario Gila, which means Tomori has the freedom to leave because he's falling out of the pecking order of San Siro. And I mean, coming back to the Premier League is the best decision for Abranti at this point. Best decision. He comes back. he gets comfortable, he plays really well, and I think he would have some good time. Inter Milan are ready to submit an official bid for Tottenham Hotspur defender Jet Spence. The Italian side believes Spurs could now accept under 40 million euros, having previously demanded 45 million euros after the World Cup. Spence is keen on the move, with talks expected to continue as Inter revive their pursuit. We'll keep our eyes on Jet Spence and see whether will be free team my friend Tottenham Hotspur to Inter Milan, and that could be a potential improvement for him. Of course, Tottenham Hotspur, I don't think he was going to lose his place after the World Cup and what we saw him do. He's not a bad player, but again, Roberto De Zerbi has come in at a time where he wants people who are very serious and willing to sacrifice and give their all. Jet Spence doesn't look like that player who will be disruptive, but if Biana De Zerbi Munisa, yeah, if Biana De Zerbi Munisa, so you never know what could happen. Chelsea have confirmed that Philip Jorgensen, goalkeeper, has been loaned to team my friend in Strasbourg. There's no option to buy included until back to Chelsea. I honestly think, say, Xabi Alonso wants to assess the player in Kobo loan performance in the year. When you come back, you may come straight into the team. Because this season, Alonso is still on top goalkeeper. Diogo Costa of Sporting CP was linked to Chelsea. But as it stands now, Omma. Into the say Jorgensen, Eko Bolon, or Born Home was Strasbourg, he will come back straight into the team, and I don't have any doubts about that. But it will also depend on whether Robert Sanchez is able to do the job for Chelsea this season. That's what would guarantee Philip Jorgensen a good chance of becoming Chelsea goalkeeper in the future. You know, once he's done, he'll come back. And you will see. I have some Palhinha news. Palhinha and Tijani Reijnders. I'll give you stories from these two players before we leave. Palhinha is actually in the news because it seems Newcastle have entered the race to sign Arantiano. Newcastle are showing interest in João Palhinha as they look to strengthen their midfield before the transfer window closes. The Bayern Munich midfielder has emerged as an option following the departures of Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. Palhinha is still available to leave Bayern after his loan spell at Tottenham failed to result in a permanent move. This according to Mail Sport. So potential transfer for João Palhinha. He's saying we'll come back to Bayern, and I think he wants to come back to the Premier League. It's I'm not interested in a good player. When you're watching for Portugal, yes, he doesn't also get playing time at Portugal, but it's a very decent player. I've not watched much of him in Bayern, but when I watched what he did in the Premiership with Tottenham Hotspur, I was thinking, say, okay, I couldn't bad, sir. He just needs to be able to maintain some composure and play more confidently. And coming back to the Premier League will not be a bad decision, especially for Newcastle, who need more players to improve upon their project with Matthias Jaisala or Juma Sisia. Then Daniel Munoz, Crystal Palace right back. He's been linked with Everton, and David Moyes is looking to strengthen that position. And Munoz has emerged as a possible target. The defender has 2 years left on his Palace contract, with the club holding an option for another year in T. And also, it's very likely Munoz will move back or Everton. But at this point, Crystal Palace looks like they are losing a lot of players. So if they continue like this, I'm sure this season maybe they will not be able to, because I've seen Bournemouth replace the players they've sold. They sold Senesi to, I think, Tottenham Hotspur. They bought João Lu, and they bought one more player to also replace. But Crystal Palace, we are not really hearing of them signing so much, and they will have to sign because Pierre Sage on Sisia as a coach, and I honestly think he also has a hefty expectation on him, because taking over from Oliver Glasner and with what he did with them last season, helping them to win the Conference League, and now he has moved to Team Fair Nottingham Forest. So the competition is there. Pierre Sage, he's coming in from OGC Nice, from the French League on to come and coach Crystal Palace. Until Onusun himself, he has to sign. He wants to make his outgoings before he brings in the newcomers. But they have to sign Crystal Palace. They will have to sign to remain competitive at League Moon this season. So That is it. That is it. That is it. That is it. From that now, Tijani Reijnders, Nottingham Forest have shown interest in the player. I think it's very clear. I reported this a couple of days ago. City are aware of Forest interest in the 28-year-old Netherlands international. Reijnders moved from City to AC Milan last summer for £46 million. Inti so be free City are Nottingham Forest. I don't think City want to sell him for anything less than £50 million. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think. But it depends. Whatever the plan is for the player by Roberto De Zerbi. Sorry, by Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca. It could be, say, they want him to go and play on a loan and come back. But if they have to sell him at this point, I don't see him leaving for anything less than £50 million. Yeah. So we'll keep our eyes on that and see how that unfolds. This has been Onside with me, Joshua. Hello, you can also call me Top High Fabrizio. I'll come your way later in the day with more updates. Please subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and also click on the all button at the top there. I'm dropping video. I'll be one of the first people to receive it. Now, share so thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.